Good day, everybody. Here we are on the Bible in the year 2021, day 79. And on day 79, we're looking at chapters 28 and 29. So, starting off right on verse 1 of chapter 28, um, we see here Yahweh explaining that his intention was to put Israel on display for the whole world to see. He says, now, if you really obey the Lord your God's voice by carefully keeping all his commandments that I am giving you right now, then the Lord your God will set you high above all nations on earth. The reason being lifted up is so that that light can shine, so that they can see that's they're on display. That's the whole idea. I am showcasing you. You are you are my model home. Just showing you off, not because of you, but because of me. All you have to do is do what I tell you to do, and then you will shine. And then he gives a list of blessings. There's just a huge list of blessings here of what it is to be in this relationship. He doesn't hide anything. Yahweh has not hidden anything. He gives the good, he gives the bad, he tells them exactly, he calls it what it is. Um, and the rules, what we have to get in our mind, because we have a terrible mindset towards rules because we feel that rules kind of hinder us and prevent us from doing what we want to do, and that's a good thing, to be quite honest, because in all of creation, um, we tend to blow it. We will take creation and we will manipulate it to our purposes. We will make we will take things like a nuclear fission, which really could have been a beneficial thing, and we turn it into weapons and such. Whatever we discover we can do with God's creation, we're going to twist it. We're going to make it ugly. We're going to do terrible things. And same thing with relationships. And so this is why he's given us instructions. It's for our benefit. It's for our benefit and our protection. How to do relationship, how we should be living, how should we be walking, even at this stage, what they can eat, and what they should wear at this stage. As we've gained in knowledge, obviously some of those things he's freed up, but at this time this was for their protection. It wasn't because he was being mean. It's protection. We have to have in our mind that he's good, and because he's good, if he's given us this instruction, it's for our benefit. But you have to get to that place. You have to get to the place of seeing him as being good, as him being defined by goodness. And if you don't, then you will always push back against the rules. You'll always have problems. You'll always second guess. You'll always question. You'll always question. If you can't trust him, if you can't trust his goodness, this is the place that you're going to be. This is why this is a matter of faith. Faith is trusting. Faith is believing, and that's where you need to get to. Some people consider faith. By faith, I can move mountains. By faith, I can walk in obedience. By faith, I can raise the dead. But by faith, I can love my neighbor. It's this trusting. Um, and the fruit that comes out of this kind of relationship, this loving, trusting relationship, is abundant blessings. So those blessings can just flow. We're just making it possible, for him to pour out himself upon us. That's so important. You can't be walking in disobedience and expecting that full measure of blessing. There's still going to be a blessing because he loves us, but not to the full measure that he wants. He can't bless sin, but he can bless people. Okay. He can't bless sin, but he can bless people. So even in your rebellion, he can still bless you. He just can't bless what you're doing because he loves you. Yeah, that's how you receive the blessing of salvation, because he absolutely loves you. Um, but when we're in this place of relationship, uh, and we set aside the rebellion, and we're in this place of trust, and we're in this place of belief, then there are open doors and there's open windows, and it just comes flooding in. Okay, verse 9 and 10. The Lord will establish you as his own, a holy nation, just as he swore to you. And when he says swore to you, he means, to you now, but also to you as in your ancestors. If you keep the Lord your God's commandments and walk in his ways. Deuteronomy, this is the motto of Deuteronomy right here. If you keep the Lord your God's commandments and walk in his ways. We hear it all the way through. All the earth's peoples will see that you are called by the Lord's name, and they will be in awe of you. There is purpose for Israel. There's purpose for the body of Christ. There's purpose for the church. We're supposed to be walking in this place of keeping the Lord's commandments, walking in his ways, listening to his voice. So the earth's people will see that you are called by the Lord's name, and they will be in awe of you. Yeah, it's about them seeing his glory in us. Yeah, trophies of grace. And Israel was supposed to be the superpower in the world. Um, Not hero superpower, but like United States superpower, the center of all economic, political, spiritual, um, military, supposed to be the epicenter of all things. In verse 13, the Lord will make you the head of things, not the tail. You will be at the top of things, not the bottom, as long as you obey. It's conditional. It's not whatever. Some people look at Israel and say, "Well, yeah, they're this and they're that." Well, they are people in rebellion, and we're told that there will be a day when he brings them in. But we have to recognize they are still a people who are in rebellion. As long as you obey the Lord your God's commandments that I'm commanding you right now by carefully doing them. It was his perfect will, but it was conditional upon their partnering with him. Verse 15, but if you don't obey the Lord your God's voice by carefully doing all his commandments and his regulations that I'm commanding you right now, all these curses will come upon you and find you. So just as all the blessings are there, walking in that relationship of obedience, if you decide to have a relationship of rebellion and opposition, then it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be the opposite. And he's very clear. He lists a huge list of curses for unfaithfulness here, between verses 16 and 44. Um, what you have to keep in mind when you're reading this is these things aren't aimed at a bunch of strangers who know nothing or very little about Yahweh. These are people that he's brought into this relationship, that he's invited into this relationship, and he's told them his purpose for them. He's told them all his blessings. He told them what it is that he needs them to do, and it's not tough. There's nothing there that is tough. There's nothing there that is outlandish. It's not like you have to build a staircase to the moon or anything like that. Yeah, you have to learn to love. It's basically it. You have to learn to love. You've just got to respect people. You got to learn to love. You got to learn to respect, to love me. I've got to be the object of your worship. Me. That's all they had to do. It wasn't difficult. But they have a fallen nature. Yeah, I don't know what this means. This is the people Yahweh has drowned. I think it was a it was a one of those automatic correction things, right? This is the people that Yahweh has born. He born them. He gave them birth. He birthed them. Okay, this is the people that Yahweh has birthed. He's watched over. He's protected. He's provided for. He's lent his favorite part of creation to them. They never owned it. They possessed it, but they never owned it. It's his. He makes it clear in Scripture that they were just tenants. They were allowed to possess, but they were not allowed to own. But these are the man. He has favored them so much. They have his laws and instructions along with all his promises. To turn against him is it's a great betrayal of the faithful relationship they have been chosen for. That's what it comes down to. It's a great betrayal, and it's hurtful and spiteful. This is what we have to keep in mind when we read through this. This is his justice. I've given you what is fair, and you have decided to bust everything. So now the full consequences of the law will fall on you. Oh, look at this, and just consider consider ourselves right now. In verses 47 to 48, because you didn't serve the Lord your God joyfully and gladly, above all else, you will serve your enemies, the ones the Lord will send against you during famine, drought, nakedness, and total depravity. God will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has wiped you out, joyfully and gladly. Is that would you consider that today? Are you serving the Lord joyfully and gladly today? Are you sacrificing what he tells you to sacrifice? Are you loving who he's told you to love? Are you coming alongside? Are you giving of yourself? Like, are you have you fully engaged in this? Have you entered in? Do you have this relationship that you're walking with him all the time? You talk everything over with him. You include everything because you're partnered with him in this thing. Is his work the focus? Even if you're a nuclear physicist, a rocket scientist, whatever you want to consider to be the highest pinnacle of stuff. Are you involved in all of these things because of him, and do you recognize his work all around you? Are you seeing it in the relationships that you're involved with? Are you engaged in that joyfully and gladly? And then we get this warning and really this prophecy here in verse 49 to 57. And there's several times actually that Moses the Lord warns Moses and Israel of what their future holds because of their unfaithfulness, telling them what will happen 800 years from now. 800 years. I mean, it's not 800 years to the year. It's like 796 or something like that. But it's like pretty well 800 years from this moment. He's telling them what's going to happen. And yet, in these warnings, there's also the assurance that they would not be forgotten. He wouldn't forget them. He won't abandon them. He won't give up on them. He will call them back. He will restore them because of his faithfulness. Man, they're going to be removed from the land because of their unfaithfulness, but they're going to be brought back, not in the same way, not to the same degree, but they'll be brought back, restored because of his faithfulness. Verse 62. Man, the easiest way to sum it up here is that there's going to be a lot of suffering and death. It gets pretty heavy here. Once as countless as the stars in the night sky, only a few of you will be left alive, all because you didn't obey the Lord your God's voice. Yeah, and when you consider that there are millions of them coming into the promised land, and their numbers would have grown to tens of millions in the land itself. And then you just have like a few thousand coming back after. Oh, that's a lot. Going over to chapter 29 now. There's a shift happening in this generation. Okay, in the past generations, they were given instructions, but they didn't have the understanding. They were just expected to obey. But the Lord is giving them understanding now, um, so that they can see the reason for these instructions, the purpose for these instructions. It's a shift. He's bringing them into this place of knowledge. And if you skip down to the very last verse of this chapter, um, you can appreciate what's happening here. What what's what is being said, um, and where Yahweh is really bringing this relationship, bringing them in this relationship. It's amazing stuff here. And then he says, "I've led you in the wilderness." This is verse 5 and 6. "I've led you in the wilderness 40 years now. Neither the clothes on your back nor the sandals on your feet have worn out." Okay, these are daily miracles. Daily miracles are given with purpose, and the purpose is for them to learn that He is for them. He is the protector, He is the provider, for them to grow in intimacy, trust, faith. That when they come into the promised land, that they will do what He tells them to do, because they have grown in this relationship of a complete dependence upon Him. And that's what He's doing with us. When we come to Him, we come as an individual independent from Him, and He brings us in for the commencement, the beginning of the training to learn how to be dependent upon Him, because we have to learn that. We have to learn to be dependent upon Him. We got to learn to trust Him. We got to learn to run to Him with everything. And hopefully before the end of our journey, we have become so utterly dependent upon Him, we would never think of doing anything on our own, always in partnership with Him. Um, Verse 7 to 8, protection, always on display here. When you arrived here, Sihon, Heshbon's king, and Og, Bashan's king, marched out to fight against you, but we defeated them. We took possession of their land and gave it as an inheritance to the Reubenites, Gadites, and half of Manasseh's tribe. So they've been given this. This came at a timely moment where they've been given this as an example to say, what you did here is exactly what I'm going to have you do there. What I have done through you in this place, I'm also going to do in the place that you're crossing over to. His protection's on display. And then we have this wonderful thing that is set up. Review is good, right? A review, when you sit down and do a review, every now and then people in a company need to review the policies of the company. It's just so that it's good to do a review of a driver's handbook as well, because we stop doing some of the things that we should do. We form these bad habits and such. And so he's calling for a review um, on the seventh year. On the seventh year, and in the year of the cancellation of the debt, they'll also do a review on the policies, on the instructions, on the law, just in case anybody has been forming really bad habits, and they can just be refreshed and renewed in it. So then keep the words of this covenant and do them, so you can succeed um, in all you do. That's the purpose of the review, is that they would just um, remember to obey. Um, Verse 16 to 17 here, you know firsthand how we used to live in Egypt, and how we passed through the nations that you passed through. You saw the horrific things, the filthy idols of wood and stone, silver and gold that they had with them. This is Yahweh keeps doing this. He keeps bringing them back. He keeps reminding them not to live in that place, but remember, because sometimes they only hold on to the good memories, and He wants them to remember just how ugly and sick and terrible it really was. He wants them to remember what they have come out of, and and then He warns them against the double-mindedness. In fact, He says that if there's anybody at all, that is making this promise, but yet in their heart they're talking about just doing whatever they want to do. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. It says, make sure there isn't anyone among you right now, male or female, clan or tribe, whose mind is turning from being with the Lord our God in favor of going to serve these nations' gods. Make sure there isn't any root among you that is sprouting poison and bitterness, because it will, and he goes on and he explains how it will spread and how it will destroy, and as a result they will be removed from the land. And this is so important, people. We can't allow any wrong thinking to sit with us at all. We need to know who Yahweh is. We need to know what He's instructed us. We need to be refreshed and renewed in that all the time. We need to remember He's good. We need to remember He knows more than we do. We've got to remember these things and recommit ourselves and just reject anything that would have us go in a direction that He does not want us to go in, because the roots, those weeds, will absolutely destroy us, destroy our families. It can destroy the church. We just, yeah, don't let any of that double-mindedness at all sit with you. Verse 22 to 28, we see the terrible results from the double-mindedness. Um, See, Yahweh just, he doesn't fail to let us know what the reality of it is, what it looks like if the weed of double-mindedness is permitted to grow. What is going to be the result of this? Because it's completely destructive. And it's fair warning for us, because Jesus warned us we can't serve two masters. We can't serve two masters. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your mind, with all of your soul, with all of your strength. It requires our everything. It requires a single-mindedness. It requires a single focusedness, single affection placed upon Him and Him alone. We can't be double-minded, because we won't make it. And here's this last verse. And it's really something to just meditate on for a little while. The secret things belong to the Lord your God. So we accept there are some things that are not revealed to us, some things that we will not be aware of until eternity, some things that we just can't handle. The immenseness of our God would just melt our brain. We just cannot conceive of everything. But the revealed things belong to us and to our children forever, to keep all the words of this covenant, the new covenant that was given to us by Jesus Christ. The revealed things belong to us. So whatever the Spirit reveals to you, whatever revelation He gives to you, that's yours. That belongs to you. That means you're supposed to operate in that. That means that this is now your the way you move forward. It is with this. Once it's been revealed to you, you need to walk in it, live in it, because that now belongs to you. That's yours. It's part of your DNA, your makeup, your perspective, the way that you see and think and talk and walk and eat and everything else. It just impacts everything, because it's been revealed to you. You've got to do something with it. Okay, so there you go, folks. Love you very much. Thank you for being on this journey. I pray that you have an excellent day and that you press in, and that this stuff isn't just knowledge to you, but it is a life-changing thing that allows you to see our Father in the way that you've never seen Him before, and to move into this intimacy with Him, and to see your behavior mature and grow in Him. God bless.